The day I found out my husband was cheating, I didn't cry. I didn't scream, I smiled. Because he thought I was just his wife. He forgot that I built his entire life. Naomi had given up her career to support Eric. 12 years of loyalty, sacrifice, and silence. She had been the architect behind every success he claimed as his own. The quiet force that turned his dreams into reality, while her own ambitions gathered dust in forgotten corners of their penthouse apartment. She remembered the day she resigned from her position at the marketing firm. How Eric had held her hands, and promised they were a team, that her sacrifice would be temporary. That once his business took off, she could pursue anything she wanted. The temporary became permanent. The promises became hollow. Until one day, she found the truth. It began innocently enough. A Tuesday afternoon when she was organizing Eric's home office. While he was away on yet another business trip, she moved his leather briefcase to dust beneath it, and the weight felt wrong. Inside, hidden in a concealed compartment she never knew existed, was a second phone. The screen lit up with a notification as her fingers brushed against it. A message from someone named Victoria. Can't wait to see you at the Four Seasons on Friday. Room 1204. I've missed you, baby. Naomi stood frozen in the center of the office she had designed, surrounded by books she had selected, sitting in the ergonomic chair she had researched for weeks to find. The room spun. She checked the phone's history with trembling hands, each message a knife twisting deeper. 6 months. The affair had been going on for 6 months. 6 months of late nights at the office. Of weekend conferences, of business dinners that ran long. 6 months of her believing him, of defending him to friends who said he worked too much, of making excuses for his distance. But she didn't stop at the phone. Something cold and calculating took over. A version of herself she hadn't known existed. She searched his desk drawers with methodical precision, finding hotel receipts tucked beneath false bottoms, credit card statements for jewelry she never received, restaurant bills for 2 intimate establishments across the city. She photographed everything. She created digital copies. She became a detective in her own marriage, and with each new discovery, the pain transformed into something harder, sharper. When Eric returned home that Friday evening, smelling of Victoria's perfume and lies, Naomi was waiting in the living room with the evidence spread across the coffee table like a war room strategy map. She watched his face cycle through emotions, shock, anger, desperation, and finally something that looked like amusement. "You are being dramatic," he said, waving his hand dismissively at the carefully arranged proof of his betrayal. "This is nothing, a distraction. It doesn't mean anything." He didn't apologize. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He called her dramatic, as if 12 years of her life were a minor inconvenience. As if her discovery of his double life was an overreaction to a forgotten anniversary. He walked past her, poured himself a scotch from the bar she had stalked, and told her to calm down before she did something she'd regret. That was the moment Naomi stopped being a wife and became something far more dangerous. She knew his business inside out. She had written his first business plan while he slept, had designed his logo, had built his website, had managed his early clients when he was too inexperienced to handle them himself. She knew every weak contract he had signed in his arrogance, every corner he had cut to save money, every fake success he had manufactured for investors. She knew about the money he was hiding in offshore accounts, the creative accounting that bordered on illegal, the promises he had made to clients that he had no intention of keeping. So she stayed quiet. She smiled at breakfast. She kissed him goodbye before his late nights at the office. She played the role of the dutiful, clueless wife, while she collected evidence with the patience of a spider weaving a web. She photographed documents, recorded conversations, tracked financial transactions. She reached out to old colleagues, rebuilt her professional network, updated her resume, and began consulting work under a pseudonym. She rebuilt her career in the shadows, one connection at a time, one project at a time, until she had offers waiting and a reputation that had nothing to do with Eric Whitmore's wife. And she waited. Eric remained oblivious, wrapped in his own arrogance. He brought Victoria to company events. introducing her as a colleague while Naomi stood nearby with a glass of wine and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. He made decisions without consulting her, assuming she had no interest in business matters anymore. He underestimated her completely, and that was his fatal error. Then Eric made the biggest mistake of his life. Perhaps Victoria was pressuring him for commitment. Perhaps he believed his own narrative that Naomi was weak, dependent, incapable of surviving without him. Whatever his reasoning, he filed for divorce first, serving her papers on a Monday morning while she was drinking coffee in the kitchen she had renovated. He thought she was weak, unemployed, defenseless. He offered her a settlement that would have left her with enough to rent a small apartment for 6 months. Nothing more. His lawyer called it generous. Eric called it fair. He expected her to crumble, to beg, to accept whatever he offered because she had nowhere else to go. Naomi walked into court 4 months later with 4 binders. The first contained proof of his cheating photographs, messages, hotel receipts, testimony from private investigators she had hired with money from her secret consulting work. The second documented hidden money, tracing his offshore accounts with forensic accounting that revealed years of tax evasion and asset concealment. The third detailed illegal transactions, contracts signed under false pretenses, bribes to officials, fraudulent reporting to investors. And then she dropped the final bomb. Eric's business wasn't just unstable, it was exposed. While he had been celebrating his freedom, pursuing his new relationship, assuming his wife was too broken to fight back, Naomi had been busy. She had contacted his clients, revealing the true state of his operations. She had reached out to investors, sharing the financial irregularities she had uncovered. She had filed anonymous reports with regulatory agencies. His company was under investigation. His reputation was in ruins. Everything was gone. The courtroom was silent as she presented her evidence, her voice steady and clear, her posture perfect. She didn't look at Eric, didn't need to see his face to know that reality was finally crashing through his delusions of invincibility. His lawyer objected, stalled, tried to negotiate, but the damage was done. The judge reviewed her documentation with growing concern, and Eric's confident demeanor crumbled into desperation. He lost the case. The settlement awarded Naomi half of everything, including assets he had tried to hide. The criminal investigations she had initiated proceeded without her involvement, separate from the divorce proceedings. But their existence destroyed any remaining credibility he had in the business community. He lost the company within 6 months, unable to secure new clients or retain old ones, unable to secure financing with investigations pending. He lost Victoria shortly after, when the lifestyle she had been attracted to evaporated. When the successful businessman turned out to be a fraud living on borrowed time. And Naomi? She didn't celebrate. She didn't post vindictive messages on social media or throw a party to mark the end of her marriage. She simply walked out of the courthouse with her 4 binders, placed them in the back seat of the car she had purchased with her own money, and drove away. She had an apartment waiting, small but hers alone. She had job offers from 3 companies impressed by the work she had done, rebuilding her career in secret. She had her name back, her dignity, her future. She drove past the restaurant where Eric had proposed to her 12 years ago, past the building where his company had once occupied the top floor, past the life she had built for a man who never deserved her. She didn't look back. She just kept driving toward everything he thought she'd never take. Her independence, her strength, her self-respect, and the knowledge that she had not been destroyed by his betrayal, but forged by it into something unbreakable. At a stoplight, she caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back was not the naive girl who had believed in partnership and sacrifice. She was harder, wiser, more dangerous. She was free. And for the first time in 12 years, Naomi smiled. Not for Eric, not for appearances, but for herself. If you find this story interesting, please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.